Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Gutter boy was treated shitty, running, flying, need no pity. Family life was blowing up, not enough love for my cup. Trying only to look up, even as a baby I knew what's up. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Gutter boy was treated shitty, running, flying, need no pity. Family life was blowing up, not enough love for my cup. Trying only to look up, even as a baby I knew what's up. Ran away for college, trying to obtain that knowledge. For a baby boy Thomas to know himself as flawless. I was growing up in bondage to a redneck mind unpolished. Locked it up like a hostage, cause I was constantly admonished by my family, by my friends. I'm the weird kid yet again. Piss me off and I demolish you. Nothing but the honest truth. It will just astonish you. Put you in a lock or two. Only keep a couple few people close to me, but who? That is for me, not you. But please know that I love you too. Keep you in my heart and mind, and I will always root for you. Succeed and love your life. Even get a husband, wife. Just here to make art for the soul, express my strife. But if I find a goddess, then I gotta be honest. I'll give her my entire heart, no need for being modest. All these thoughts driving through this town, it's honestly ironic. When I left at 18, said I'm never coming back, I promise. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Ghetto boy was treated shitty, running, crying, need no pity. Moved on back and stuck here now, hoping things and change, but wow. Post-storm leaders made a vow, then lie and steal and stay highbrow. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Ghetto boy was treated shitty, running, crying, need no pity. Moved on back and stuck here now, hoping things and change, but wow. Post-storm leaders made a vow, then lie and steal and stay highbrow. Panama City politicians always clown. After Hurricane Michael, they left us all to drown. 5 million stole from FEMA, yeah, they thought they'd get a crown. Good old boy syndrome is the only party in this town. Kick them out of office, tear the entire system down. Charge $500 a month with wires, lay up on the fracking ground. No power, no phone, but we paying for it anyway. Set they ass on fire, profits over people is the way. Burn them all down, take their money back, let them pray. Feed them to the fishes and the sharks up in the bay. Take this fight national, those phonies always stray from doing what the people want. They just look to prey on our fears and feed us lies through propaganda every day. Set us against each other so that we just fray and weaken our defenses. Yes, this is their play, so vote them out of office and please don't forget to spay.
This is Thomas Reddick reminding you to please spay and neuter your politicians by voting them out of office and petitioning for term limits in the Senate and Congress. God bless America.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, live streaming directly into your homes and phones via Facebook and the HWWS WebTV channel on YouTube. Welcome to episode 26, that's a half year, of Lights, Thunder, Action. I'm Thomas Carter Rochester, a.k.a. the Son of Dale.
And I'm David Thompson, and today we've got a big show for you guys. Get excited. We've got a lot of news, as we have been recently. The last couple, 3 weeks, we've had an exciting... I've come in the last, 3 weeks amped for the news. Even though it's not all good, it's all stuff I want to talk about. So I think that's almost better than sometimes always good news. Because there's some stuff where right now we live in such a world where there's so much speculation and having to look forward and really just guess on what the heck's happening. And pretty much all of our news, it's just little nuggets and we have to take them somewhere. So very exciting. And today...
Watch the show, you know we go everywhere. It's
that is what we do. We had to add that to something because that's literally how our show goes. But today we will also be joined by Derek Diamond from the Derek Diamond Show. So get excited. It's going to be very exciting. And Thomas, how are you doing, man?
I am okay. So I'm wearing my cowboy Hawaiian shirt.
Oh,
so I'm doing okay.
Why are you representing them?
I stand by my team through good and bad, even when they are too stupid to hire some help on the defense.
Yeah.
I could go on, but I'm doing okay. we lost, but our offense is great, so whatever.
Yeah. Dak had 502 yards for me in fantasy, so keep that up. That was
we
nice.
only seem to throw 500 yards whenever we lose. Historically, it's a fact. Thank you. Thank you, Brain, for remembering that.
Keep losing for my fantasy purposes, then.
Listen, just because your team is smart and tries to be, well-rounded, don't put that devil on me. I'm trying to get rings here, man.
All right. Sorry. You're the one wearing the shirt.
Because what else am I going to wear?
True.
We are in football season, and as bad as my defense is, I am addicted. So it is what it is. It was the first drug. I'm doing well. We're here. We're live and in your house and face and phones. Trademark no one. I got my house pretty much set up. Let me look at it.
Hello.
Snaps, look at it. Yeah, I'm very excited. David, how are you doing? How was your weekend? I got older this weekend, but no one cares about that.
Yeah. Happy birthday, man. Happy birthday.
Oh. Well, thank you. I wasn't fishing for that.
Well,
because I'm old now. And my birthday is now ruined for 30 years old.
Yeah, we're going to get that. Yeah, we're going to get that for next year too. Anyway, I had a good weekend. Colts won. Fantasy's looking okay. There's 2 Monday night games now, so who knows? But good weekend. Had fun. Great times all around. I mean, we had some news drop. The electro news got me excited, man. My brain went firing everywhere. So stay tuned for that. That is coming up later in today's show. But that was
just like his in the movie that's going to be retconned.
True. And the Heat won last night. Now it's 2-1. Lakers up on the Heat. So that's
Wild
actually
game.
Of the series. Yeah, I have no faith the Heat are actually going to win. But I didn't want to get swept. So at least I can live and sleep well knowing we will not get swept by the Lakers.
I can respect that. The Cowboys got swept yesterday. So
yeah, they did get swept by the Browns.
Right.
And OBJ.
My third favorite team. Thank you, Madden. I always picked them in Madden because they suck. But now I'm like, dang it, I got this affinity to them.
Yeah.
So you know how it is. David, where can everyone find the audio version of this podcast?
Yeah, guys. So if you can't tune in live, or if you'd rather listen to us than look at our faces, you can go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and our hosting site Spreaker for the audio version of these full live shows in a audio podcast form. They normally go up about at least 48 hours after the show, maybe sometimes before then. But yes, check out those. If you're going on a run in your car, we have an audio version of our full show every week. So go check those out. We appreciate all of you.
And of course, as I said at the top of the show, we are live streaming every week right here on our Lights Thunder Action Facebook page and the HWWS WebTV channel over on YouTube. You can also find us dropping sometimes funny things, sometimes me going on an angry tangent about the Star Wars sequel trilogy at Lights Thunder Action on Instagram, Lights Thunder Action ! On YouTube, and of course on our Twitter, it is at LTA Podcasting. That is LTA Podcast ING.
Yep.
Which kind of brings us to the best part of the show, right? Where we shut up and we invite our amazing guest, friend of the show, Derek Diamond. What a name.
What a name is right. I'm jealous of that name.
It's funny because you wouldn't have any idea how many people have asked me if it's a stage name.
It sounds like a stage name. It sounds
and I've had to pull out my ID at times and be like, no, this is the real thing. And they look at it like, oh, that's cool. But no, thank you guys so much for inviting me on the show. I've been enjoying what you guys have been doing. So glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on, man. It really means a lot to us. And hey, I mean, I've never really seen a diamond in real life. So, hey.
Now you have.
Or have I? Because, we're all going to be in these little cubes on our screen for the rest of our lives, it feels like. But hey.
At least throughout the duration of 2020. Who knows what 2021 is going to bring us? I read this joke on Facebook not too long ago that on December 31st of this year, we're going to see this huge word of text across the screen. You have, or across the clouds, you have now completed your tutorial.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh no.
Oh my God.
What now?
Yeah. I mean, who knows what the future holds? But yeah, this year is going to be one to remember and hopefully move past. But Derek, so tell us a little. But let's start with this. Tell us all about your show and everywhere people can find you and what all you got going on. So like, let us know.
Sure. So my podcast I do is called The Derek Diamond Experience. I started it in March of 2014. It's gone through some changes throughout the years, but what I do is I focus on the world of film and talking with those who work in the film industry, whether it's directors, actors, writers, producers, anyone who has or currently works in the film industry.
Yeah.
As kind of an educational tool for those who maybe like myself want to work in film but didn't necessarily go to film school.
Right.
So it's been on part of that format since January of 2019. But I drop new episodes every Thursday on all podcasting platforms, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast. And then you can also follow me on social media at D Diamond Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Cool. Sounds awesome. Yeah, go check it out, guys. It's a great podcast. Not really similar to ours because I think Derek's a lot more well put together than me and Thomas. So hey.
Yes, he is far more prepared than we ever are.
But you guys bring the fun to podcasting.
Oh, thank you. We try.
do put the FU in podcasting.
Yeah,
I think it's more Thomas. I think Thomas brings it out of me more. And I think if it was like, say, like me and you, Derek, as co-host, you get more of like the serious me. But then I think also, see, Thomas gets on me sometimes about being like too serious or almost like not too serious, but too like lack of emotional. But when you talk to, but Thomas is like on the whole other spectrum. So like if I talk to like one of my other friends, they think, oh my gosh, like David's crazy about movies and like he's so like dramatic about it. But then the Thomas, I'm I'm boring. You know what I mean? It's so funny. There's like a spectrum to it. Cause like you talk to anyone, any of my other regular friends, they're just like, yeah, David's like insane about podcast. Like they'll just be like, hey, what's the order of the MCU films? And I'm like, all right, give me a sec.
They don't know that?
Exact. See, that's what I'm saying. That's the exact point I'm making right there. So,
might have to question the friendship at that point.
Yeah, honestly, you might. I remember one time. I don't know why I'm the one talking, but it was my freshman year in college, and I was on the school newspaper. I studied journalism, so of course I was on the school newspaper. But anyway, we were in our like little office space, and there was this big whiteboard on the back. And we were all just like relaxing, we were just like hanging out. I was like after a meeting, we weren't like doing anything serious. I got off going on about Marvel, and they're like, and it was like, I was a freshman, so no one really knew me that well. And they're like, oh my, like they're looking at me like I'm crazy, or like, you know so much. And I'm like, yeah, I could write down the full, I could tell you the order of all the MCU films. And they're like, no, you can't do it. Grab the marker, went on the board, boom. I think it was, I don't know what, that was fall of 2017. So what movie were we even on then? That was right before Ragnarok.
Ragnarok was coming.
Yeah. So I think it was like maybe right before Ragnarok. But I think what I actually did, why am I showing off? I actually put the order of the ones coming up too. To like extra be like, yes, I really know. Anyway, sorry, random aside. That's how the show goes.
No, I dig it. I dig it. No, and I think that's why the show works so well, is because you guys have different personalities, and it, you guys balance each other out, and it makes for an entertaining show.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate that. But Derek,
see, he's well more put together. He said that so much better than we could have.
I don't know about that.
But Derek, enough about us. So you mentioned you want to work actually in film, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you've dabbled, you've done some things. So tell me kind of about, I kind of want to hear your side of, I think all of us here would have a side of why we love movies and why we want to be a part of them in some way. Obviously Thomas is an actor. Thomas does his podcast. Thomas is just like a creative person when it comes to films and all like that. Me, I love to write. I would want, if I ever did something, I'd want to be on the writing side of it, probably maybe directing, but really, I like to do this sort of thing, like critically analyzing stuff and just also geeking out about it. So I kind of want to hear your background on that, because I feel like our audience kind of knows us already. So,
well, the interesting thing is I didn't know that film was what I wanted to do until I was already a year into college, because I had no clue what I wanted to do. And much like you guys, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching or listening to this, we grew up loving movies. You know, I can remember watching the original Star Wars, the pre-special editions on VHS when I was 4 or 5 years old. And at the time, I thought that was just the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. But I never thought that I'd want to work in it. But then when I was in college, I found a brochure for Pensacola State College, or back then Pensacola Junior College's video broadcasting program. And I just kept looking at it, and I was like, I'll give this a try for a semester. And then if I don't like it, I'll just use the classes as electives.
Right.
But my first production class I took, I knew that was what I wanted to do. It was one of those things that was just like that. I knew that that was what I wanted to do, but still I was like, how do I get into that industry? Because you know, it's like most of us in the beginning, you're like, well, how do you do that? Like, how does Spielberg get to where he's at? How does George Lucas get to where he's at?
Right.
So then fast forward years later, and I start the podcast, and still it's like I still have that thing, the idea in the back of my mind that this is what I want to do. And then I started finding out about short films that were being made in the Pensacola and Gulf Coast area.
Yeah.
And Steve Wise, who I know Thomas knows, Steve, but I worked on his short film Survey back in the summer of 2017. And still, when I worked on set, I was only on set for 1 of 2 days. But still, when I was there was something about the atmosphere, the collaboration, you know, being a part of something that's of a bigger picture. And then after that, I was like, okay, I've got to do this. And then a year later, you know, I made my movie.
Right. Let's tell us a little about your movie. How was that process?
So it was rough in the beginning because at the time, so my film, The Parker Syndrome, is based on something that I made with a group of friends when I got out of college. Because, you know, I was just wanting to make something. I didn't know what, but I wanted to make something. So me and several friends got together, and, you know, mutual friends who knew people, and we actually had like a cast and a small crew together, and we made what was the original version of The Parker Syndrome. So then fast forward to the summer of 2017, after I work on Survey, I watched the original version of it for the first time in probably 5 or 6 years. And I thought to myself, well, if I were to do this differently, I would do this, I would change that. I'd probably cut that storyline out. And then I thought, why don't I just do it? You know, I built up enough connections where I felt that I would be able to do it. Yeah. So then fast forward about a year later, the script was written. And then I went through a really bad breakup with a girl I'd been dating for 2.5 years. So I wasn't in a very good headspace at the time that we were going to actually shoot the film. So we pushed everything back from October to December. And even at that point, I was just kind of starting to get a crew together. Hadn't done any casting yet. Yeah. But then I ultimately used the making of the film as almost therapy in a way, which I've heard in some instances can be good, some that can be bad. But in my case, it was good because I had a great cast, a great crew who, you know, you could tell they really wanted to be there. And just to see multiple people have the same passion for it that I did was arguably the most rewarding thing of the entire experience.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's funny. There's just like a certain, I think, person when it comes to these sort of things where it's just, you just want to make something. I've always said that I just want to make things. That's where I get the most joy, like making something new and something different. And it doesn't have to be all that exciting and new and different, just something that's new and different for me, really. You know what I mean? Like nothing, like even just like making this podcast is exciting. And I mean, just doing every episode is exciting. Being able to go back and look and see different, like, remember different clips and be like, oh, this was funny, this was cool. Like, it's all like, because when you're doing it in the moment, you don't think about these things. But yeah, I mean, I had the opportunity my senior year. It's funny talking about just like the process of stuff. We had a senior design project, and I was in, you know, the communications program. So we did a documentary, and, you know, that's not making a film. It's different. You know, it's not like you said, a cast and actors and doing things and having control almost. Like, you have control on the editing, but when the cameras are rolling, you know, you can tell them to do a couple things, but not really, you know, like they're doing their own thing. And I wonder, after working on that, I honestly fell in love. Like, if I could ever work on a documentary again, like if I ever had the opportunity to, I would in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? Like the problem is it's like such a grind. Like because if you want to make a good one, you have to be filming all the time. You have to live in the editing room, and it's such a fun experience. And I wonder how that would. I just wonder how that would differ from a like a fictional narrative film in a way. And I think there are a lot of similarities, because I'll tell you this: when editing, I feel like there's so much like, and I think this when I look at movies critically too, how much editing can affect things. Because after doing that and after talking to a few other people, you can have so much footage. You know what I mean? And it's just like you're watching a movie sometimes, and like, how did that make it? Or why didn't this make it? Or this and that, this whole dynamic in your head that's just running. But I think it's so much fun, and I feel bad. It brings me back to I think I brought it up in this podcast. I just feel bad for some guys that take so much slack on the internet for like the movie they came up with, especially when they have a lot of creative control that we see is kind of like a trend these days, because the internet's just I don't know, it can be an evil place sometimes, I guess. And well, when you're sitting there and you think you got something, it can just be hard to go away from your gut. And, when you're sitting there editing it and filming it and doing all these things, you don't have the thousands of fans these directors get the blowback from sitting there critiquing you, So it's cool. I think just the movie, I guess kind of like the community and stuff, especially when it's like positive, but it can get bad and dark so bad, I think, with fans. And it's in anything, like I said, with creating stuff, there's like you're setting yourself up for being critiqued. And that's why I think a lot of people don't do it. I think a lot of people don't do creative things or make things or put themselves out there, even though they'd want to, because of that critique. What do you think of that? Because I think it's something that really can hold people back and make them shy away from doing things maybe they'd really want to.
Well, you mentioned that, and I instantly think of when The Last Jedi came out back in 2017. Like, that movie was so polarizing.
Yeah.
Whether you loved it or you hated it, if someone disagreed with you, then it was like the end of the world.
Where do you land quickly?
I'm a fan of it.
Okay.
You're outnumbered, David.
Okay, but like, how big of a fan of it? Are you like Last Jedi or bust, Rian Johnson's the man, or are you like, it's a fun movie?
I enjoyed the direction that Rian Johnson was taking Star Wars.
Okay.
It's definitely not my favorite of the Star Wars films. Like, to me, nothing will touch The Empire Strikes Back or just the original trilogy as a whole. But that's because I grew up with it. There are some people, like who grew up with the prequels, and now we're hearing that those, and to me, those don't hold up as well as people might think. But there are some who grew up with the prequels, and that is their trilogy. Just like there will be some people that the Disney trilogy will be their trilogy. So it's all about the generational, aspect of it and what medium of it speaks to you. But after The Last Jedi came out, fans were and I love Star Wars, but Star Wars has some of the most toxic fans that I've ever seen on the internet. The fact that they drove multiple actors from that movie away from social media because they were being harassed.
Yeah.
That to me, I have no respect for, and that's just a new low. But to answer your question, I think what it is that a lot of people don't like to be criticized. Do I like to be criticized? No, but I do what I do because I love it, and if people don't like it, the film industry and really any type of art or creative environment is so subjective because of taste. You look at music, what I might like, you guys might not like, and vice versa. So I just take it as, okay, well, that's, you like that. I personally don't, but hey, good on you. So it's like, I think there's a big problem today with people not being able to accept just simply the fact that just because you disagree, it's okay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I see that outside of the movie industry. I see that all the time, man. Especially now with the internet. Yeah, it's okay to disagree on things. I think people have forgotten that. I mean, I remember as a kid, it's like it's fine if you don't need to make everyone agree with you, or like, you know what I mean? Like, and there was always like the one kid that needed everyone to agree with them, and it's like, no, like that guy's wrong. And now it seems like there's more of those people, and there's more, and it's all over the internet, and especially with movies, where in movies outside of real world politics or whatever the heck else, that it can be a little more objective, in my opinion, in some ways, where you can point to this, and that for like holding your opinion. Movies and things like that, you can try to make it objective, but it's subjective. Give me a break.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everything creative is subjective, especially films and especially TV shows or books or anything, because it's all about someone's taste. Yeah, like like the small. And what's funny now too is that the way things are and how these different streaming services have opened up all these different new avenues for how we consume these sort of things. Now, me and Thomas, even like Thomas wants the Kenobi series to be longer and multiple seasons, and to me, I'm like, perfect, four parts, and it's done. And that to me is like the best way possible. But I think that's also because I think movies are my favorite way to consume media, like or for storytelling, compared to say like a TV show. Like, I'd rather watch something in movie form than a TV show most of the time. And that's just my preference. You know what I mean? And that's just how it goes. Thomas, you've been quiet. I want to hear you speak.
Listen, I have like an emotional connection to Maul, and I just need Kenobi.
I think that's the only reason why you it's the only reason why you have that opinion, is because you just want to do that impersonation all the time. It's a good impersonation.
Okay, listen, let's be real. There are so many memes about it that everyone knows. If you follow Obi-Wan Kenobi, the prequels are great. If you skip everything else.
Yeah, but that's not how you watch the films. You sit there and you...
really? Is that right? You telling me how to watch my art subjectively?
It's subjective, man.
My bad.
No, I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi is definitely the best thing of the entire prequel trilogy. I think everyone can agree with that. And I love Ewan McGregor, but there's 19 years. Rebels happened. So there's... Well, I mean, Fallen Order. Okay, well, that doesn't count. There's 15 years of space and time between 3 and 4 that we really don't know anything about.
Fallen Order counts.
Yes, but it's so tangentially connected to the other characters.
Right.
It's more about, that's about the universe, which is great. I loved that. But when it comes to like the characters we know and love, Kenobi, which is, okay, let's be real. Kenobi, Ahsoka, those folks, we want to know what happened in that 15-year gap.
Right.
Just as, we want to know what happened after Return of the Jedi between to the what is the 7?
What?
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens.
Yeah. The New Hope Part 2.
Yeah. Well, we have Mandalorian, which is
exactly. And it's set 5 years after, and that's why we disagree on what is a filler episode and what is world building, but that's okay.
I don't disagree that it's world building. I'm just saying there was a few episodes where it was like all they were doing was world building for somewhat.
That's what happens on a TV show, though. Like, you gotta get the characters, and you have to invest in the characters outside of the drama. Otherwise, it doesn't hold a candle to itself. And I think that's the magic of Mando.
Right.
Is they take you, you have 3 episodes and it's a distinct story and arc. And then they're like, okay, here's this entire new part of the series that you didn't expect happening. And I'm like, okay, I'm here for it. Like, that's cool. And then they're like, oh, by the way, here's a frying pan in your face. We killed Queel. Spoiler alert.
Look out.
I was so angry when that happened, by the way.
I know. I cried so hard for a week.
Yeah. I want to hear where Derek lands on this. But see, this is the thing that you just said. I feel like, in my opinion, I think like a show like The Boys, I know you haven't seen it, Derek, but like that show, it's a different show than Mandalorian, obviously. It's a normal like Netflix style 8 to 13, like almost like, I don't know if you saw any of the Marvel Netflix series like Daredevil. Yeah, it's similar like that, a little shorter because only 8 episodes. Also, the budget seems pretty big. Budget in that show seems really big, by the way. Yes. Anyway, so But in that movie or that show, it's like, one episode leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next. In Mandalorian, but the thing is, don't get it twisted. Like when Mandalorian comes out, I'm watching it immediately, my eyes open. Like there's no way I will I will not let it, because especially because it's so popular, it'll get spoiled for me on Twitter, which I hate.
That happened to me actually.
Really?
Yep.
Oh man.
So I was in Nashville on vacation when Disney Plus was launched, but I was like, I'll watch it whenever I get home. Oh. So I log on Facebook, and the first thing I see is Baby Yoda, just in text with a bunch of exclamation points, and I'm like, what is this? And then someone on Instagram posted a photo of the reveal when Baby Yoda drops the blanket and you see his face, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. But in a nice little round of karma, this person had Rise of Skywalker spoiled for them. and they were very upset about it. And I wanted to say something in the worst way. I was just karma. It was karma.
Yeah.
It's real, folks. It's
did they
real.
get spoiled because they listened to your show where you called out the exact final shot? David, I don't think you know this. He called on his podcast in a roundtable for Star Wars. He had like a 3-episode arc for all 9 movies. And then leading into Rise of Skywalker, he's like, what do you think is going to happen? He called the shot perfectly.
What, the Rey looking at the 2 sons?
Rey Skywalker.
Wow.
Perfectly.
I'll be honest, when I saw that opening night and, it has that fade to black and then you fade back into Tatooine, I looked at my friend Adam and I'm like, am I going to be right?
Yeah.
Like I actually I was legitimately freaking out about it because I never get that stuff right.
Yeah.
No, it was nuts. And my friend Jason texted me the next day and he's like, so where did you read that? Because there's no way you could have known that.
Yeah. It would have been nice if you could put money on it or something. It's like, I wonder what the odds could have been.
Yeah.
The force is strong with this one.
I guess, yeah. It was cool. And Rise of Skywalker, I won't go too much into it, but there are things I like about it and there are things that I don't like about it. But
same.
I didn't hate the ending like everyone else did, or at least like most people I know did not.
What do you mean by
the
ending? Like which ending?
Like when Rey takes the Skywalker name.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I didn't hate that either. I was like, yeah, expected it.
To me, it seemed kind
that.
Yeah. To me, it seemed kind of irrelevant. It was like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
To quote Ben Solo.
Yeah. That part I love.
Dude, I lost my breath when that happened.
Yeah, that was an amazing scene. I will say this about Rise of Skywalker. To me, me and Thomas have gotten into this ad nauseum all the time, just about the storytelling of the sequel trilogy as a whole. And now looking back, it makes it look so much worse. But honestly, yeah, looking back, to me, it makes me think of the movies lesser. But as I watched each movie, I enjoy each of those movies. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I'm not the biggest Last Jedi fan, but I'd also defend it to people who hate on it. You know what I mean? I think. People who think that everything's bad about it. I think that certain things I don't think work. But to me, everything with Rey and Kylo, that they set up in 8 and 9, I think was brilliant. That was great storytelling. And I guess 7 too, it all kind of came together. I think, honestly, that's what carries the trilogy for me. And I enjoyed that part in Rise of Skywalker. I loved how, how you were saying earlier, how you liked the way Rian Johnson was going, the direction he was going with in Star Wars. That was where I think I felt some of the Rian Johnson effect in Rise of Skywalker with the dyad of the Force idea with Rey and Ben, and when they had the fighting choreography and they'd be like, that was so sick. I land on the Rise of Skywalker as being a movie that's a fun action flick. That's how I compartmentalize it in my head and makes it more enjoyable for me. I saw it, I think maybe 3 times in theaters. And I enjoyed it every time. I would walk out being like, that was so much fun. It might have been better. It might be my favorite of the sequel trilogy. I would literally go out of the theater saying that because I just would enjoy it so much. But then I sit back and think about it. And I'm like, what did they just tell me? What was that story? It was because if you really think about it, the last 30 minutes of the film is just a bunch of lights and sparkles and fireworks. and if you think about it, it's like that's
False.
really
It's a lot of false endings
yeah.
that are it's like watching a wrestling match. Sometimes there's going to be 3 false finishes. It's kind of the standard because of The Rock and Stone Cold, right? And you're just like, oh, okay, here's it. Okay, here it is. Oh, okay, here it is. And sometimes you're like, okay, well, we're coming up on like 40 minutes. The ending has to come about now within the next 3. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I called the ending. And it's like, cool. Okay. And then sometimes they swerve you and you're like, well, that was unexpected. I like that a lot more.
Yeah.
That was Rise of Skywalker to me.
Yeah. And it's a very high paced movie. Compared to 7 and 8, I think it's way like the pace of it is so high. Because I think the problem, but that also goes to the problem with the movie where JJ was sitting there trying to kind of retcon stuff from 8. So they had to squeeze it into 9, and they didn't want the runtime to be end game level. I don't know. I could keep
Thank
going.
God
on
it wasn't, because like I watch it now sometimes, and I kind of want to fast forward until they just get to the Orlando.
I thought that was your what was that little guy's name?
Babu Frick.
Yeah, Babu
Babu Frick.
They have to put him in a scene together with Baby Yoda. That would just be the greatest thing ever in Star Wars.
Yeah, who knows how old Babu Frick is?
Yeah.
What if he was trained by Baby Yoda?
Oh my gosh. You think Baby Yoda's alive in canon during like episode 7 through 9?
Yes. And the only reason is because you can't kill Baby Yoda. Disney will be revolted against. Like we saw what happened with Last Jedi. They'll piss off everybody.
Yeah. I'm just annoyed. See, one thing, because like when that episode 1 of Mandalorian season 1, when he pops up, it's like, okay, what is the plan with this character long term? Because that's just the way my brain works. Yes. And it's like, and after hearing those Daisy Ridley quotes, it's like they probably don't really know. Filoni probably has an idea of what he wants to do, but who knows if they're all on the same page.
Yeah, Filoni and Favreau definitely seem to have. We're on the topic. Derek, what are your thoughts on Jon Favreau writing 6 of the 8 Mando season 2 episodes? Filoni wrote 1 episode, and Rick Famuyiwa wrote 1 episode.
This is for season 2.
Season 2.
I mean, I don't think it's bad. I mean, I think what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have done with Star Wars is great. So they're 2 people that, until they do something to make me not trust what they're going to do, I'm going to trust what they're going to do. You look at, I've told people this, I truly think The Mandalorian is the best Star Wars property since Return of the Jedi. I prefer it more than the prequels. I prefer it over the sequel trilogy. I haven't watched all of Clone Wars and Rebels, so I can't fully comment on that. But from what I've seen, The Mandalorian reminded me of what made me love Star Wars.
I don't know if I agree, because I just haven't thought about it enough just to be like, yes. And it'd be funny because I'm the one that kind of complains about The Mandalorian, but honestly, the world they built and the characters, I'd be probably right there with you. I mean, the storytelling of that show, this is what drives me nuts, because I love the storytelling, and then they'd go off on this random side quest. Anyway, I feel like a video game.
That's the Clone Wars era of it, or
aspect
of it, for sure.
Exactly. And but to me, it's like Clone Wars. This is it's a animated show, and I guess in my brain, it's like this is what happens in animated shows. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's also what you believe, is that going back to that era specifically, it just feels like right. You know what I mean? And they don't shy away from areas that we know and love. And I like that about it too. And I think they're going to ride this out. And it became extremely popular. I think that actually surprised the studio, was how popular Mandalorian was, because it wasn't just, oh, Star Wars fans love this. No, everyone loves The Mandalorian, because a lot of it's because of Baby Yoda. Like, let's be honest, because he's so cute, and everyone, like, my girlfriend, and she can sit down with me. She actually wants to watch season 1 before second season comes out, because she wants to know what happened. And I'm like, oh, cool. I actually just remember that.
I feel like I'm on episode 7. Like I'm in episode 7 of The Boys from this season because, like, what?
What?
What? Okay.
But yeah, well, because it's funny actually. I would watch I would watch it on my phone the first season. Like when I'd wake up last fall, and then typically I'd rewatch every episode later at her house with her brother and her dad, but she wouldn't be watching. And now she's like, I want to know what happens. I want to see it. But she likes Star Wars in general. So anyway,
I didn't know that.
yeah, I mean, she likes it enough, and I'm not as like crazy as Marvel, and I guess there's like less Star Wars, so it's a little more digestible. Whereas Marvel, there's like 1,000 movies at this point.
There's only 23.
There's only 23, and there's only ever going to be 23 because everything keeps getting delayed.
Not WandaVision.
True.
Disney Plus is saving us.
Yes. Disney Plus is putting the world back together.
It really is.
We have a question here from our social media guru, Terry McIver.
Terry.
If Disney came calling and Derek was given a choice of Marvel or Star Wars, which would it be? And would it be a familiar character or one we have yet to see on screen?
That's a great question. I would say Star Wars, and don't get me wrong, I've loved the Marvel Cinematic Universe. One of my favorite movie-going experiences was watching the original Iron Man and seeing that post-credit scene with Nick Fury talking about the Avenger Initiative. But, Star Wars holds a special place to me because it's something that my family's loved. We've watched it as a family together. I was introduced to it at an early age. It's kind of, there are certain fandoms that have followed me throughout my life. Like I've gone through phases where I've liked some things and then gotten out of them, but Star Wars has always been there. If I were to make a Star Wars film, and I'm not going to knock stuff that's been done with the Jedi, but I think seeing a Star Wars story that has nothing to do with the Force or the Jedi is overdue. I would love to tell the story of Boba Fett, and I know it was done in Shadows of the Empire, tell the story of Boba Fett taking Han Solo's carbonite container to Jabba the Hutt. And I would make a bounty hunters film, similar to what like a Tarantino movie would be. I think that would be awesome.
Cool.
Okay.
I like that idea.
Disney. I got his phone number. Let's make it happen. That's a good idea.
It would work as a series too, I think.
It would. Ooh, yeah, it would really work as a series. There's a Bounty Hunters comic right now that's brand new, and don't remember the guy's name, but he was introduced in the comics when he went to hunt down Vader, and he's the only guy that, if I'm remembering what I was told, because I've not read the early stuff between 4 and 5. I haven't read that yet, but this character survived when no one else did because, it's Vader. Yeah. And so he has his own series now that is wrapped up in Bounty Hunters. So that would be amazing. Yeah. I would have to go so deep into the Force. I'd go straight to Mortis.
I was going to say, I feel like just in general, how it'd be so hard. I mean, it makes me kind of pity Lucasfilm a little just because at least with Marvel, like the way Terry put it, like if you had to choose between either or, there's a bit more of a blueprint than in Star Wars, where Star Wars, it can be literally anything. You know what I mean? I mean, now they're doing the High Republic, which is just they're just creating this thing. It's not something we knew about. It's not from like the old lore. It's just, hey, this is the High Republic. It's however many years ago, and this is going to be this universe. Like, Star Wars can do that with any time ever because we don't really have a sense of time. Star Wars has always been open to being way in the past, and not really way in the future, but always like open to being way in the past. And in Marvel, it's more of, hey, like you can check out these comics and you don't have to base it off the comics, but most Marvel movies that do well pick and choose from comic lines. Even sometimes use the name Civil War, which is not at all like a comic book, but has that name to it to get people in the theater, and it sounds cool and everything. So I don't know. I think I wasn't the one that was asked the question. I do Marvel just because of that, just because it'd be, I think, easier in a way. And I love Marvel, I guess, too. But Star Wars, to me, I would have such a hard time. I can already tell with my brain. You can already tell probably just by me talking. I'd be like, I don't know how to get this, like, needle this down. Or like, I don't know. It'd be so hard for me because I don't know. I'd want to do something with the Jedi just because I enjoy the Jedi. I enjoy that side of things more, I think. Like, that's what I enjoyed about the sequel trilogy. And that's what I mean, that's kind of the mystery of Baby Yoda is something that I think is a needed element of Mandalorian to me. It's like, ooh, all right, we have this Force user here. Like, there's something here. And season 2 probably go deeper with that because they're opening up things into the Force. It's a funny conversation though. DC is also, I mean, if Terry threw up DC too, I think I might do DC out of all of them, to be honest, because in the current climate, because DC kind of needs, like, you could get praised so well if you knock it out of the park with DC right now. Not to be like that, but to kind of be like that.
You being like that.
If you knock out of the park a Superman film in like 5 years, it's just, I mean, like, you'd be praised forever.
Hasn't been done since 75.
I like Man of Steel. I defend that movie to the end. So it's 2013 for me. But
would you say it was knocked out of the park?
No. But
That's what
I
I
really enjoyed that film.
Oh, yeah. I love that film.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would have killed Zod too.
Yeah, I defend that. But I wouldn't. What you really need to do if you want to make people happy is just not even put it in the situation where he has to kill Zod there. Do something else with it. Because
that's just not realistic.
People want the hope, you know, with Superman. That's what people want. Because that's what you get in the comics. You get that, like, feeling of hope, and you get the balance of the, oh, shucks, Clark Kent, and then Superman. And I think what's interesting, like, with any character is just, especially these superheroes and even Star Wars people, it's like, what are they doing in real life and what are they actually thinking in their heads? Like these Jedi that walk around, and especially in the later films when they
I'm one with the Force and the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force and the Force is with me. I am one with the Force and the Force. Ooh, squirrel.
I think Star Wars has maybe the coolest kind of, like, I guess, lore to it. I don't know if that's the right word, but just like the idea of the Force and where you can go with that and all the different avenues. That's where I'd struggle, but I like Derek's idea a lot. Especially because I love Boba Fett, and especially like in a live action Boba Fett would be awesome.
I'm going to steal this question, and I'm going to say I'd bridge the gap between Marvel and Star Wars.
Of course.
Yes.
Because why live in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away when you can live in a galaxy right here, right now, and then you find out you're a Force user. But instead of being a Force user, you're just a superhero. And then you realize that the light, the dark, the Jedi, the Sith, it's all true. All of it.
All of it. I love that.
Shout out. Shout out to Han Solo. I have one final question, and then Derek is staying on with us. He's going to be our first guest to ever go through the news with us. That was a hard thing to put around in my head, sentences. Derek, I know that you've been writing a new project. What can you tell us about that?
So, as long as I can remember, I've always been fascinated by stories within stories. Say movies about making movies. So I'm working on something like that, but with a romantic twist to it.
Oh my!
Oh,
I'm attempting at writing not a romantic comedy, but more of like a drama with a little bit of romance into it, and some. It's more lighthearted than the Parker Syndrome. I will say that, because the Parker Syndrome is like a straight up drama, and there's not a ton of happiness that goes along with it. But this one, I think, will be more fun. At least I hope it is. And I've almost finished the latest draft of the script, and I would love to be able to do it or shoot it by the end of the year. If I have to push that back to January or February, that's okay too. But I've really been, getting that itch to make something again, because it can be tough to balance, a job with the podcast, with working on other projects too.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm ready to make something else again. So hopefully that will happen soon.
Awesome. That
Yes.
sounds great to me.
I'm excited to hear more, see it all, be evolved.
Be of all.
Be evolved. I don't
Evolve.
I don't know what the hell that I was trying to say. I think I put 4 words together at once. But that actually, one last thing, Derek, tell everyone what you're doing tonight.
Yeah, so actually, for those who are watching live, I will be doing a live show tonight at 9 p.m. Central Time. I will be listing for Halloween my top 5 horror films. So I'm doing Halloween Horror Month on the Derek Diamond Experience. So I'll have a couple of interviews with those who have worked in horror film. I'm also doing a roundtable on the Evil Dead franchise, as voted on by members of my Patreon. So if you're a horror fan, you'll enjoy what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of weeks. And if you watch live, feel free to throw in your top 5 in the chat, and I will read them on the show.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And I'm going to post that in the comments here in just a couple moments for everyone here. But that actually brings us, you know what? David, I almost forgot. Let's go ahead. If you want to be a sponsor for Lights Thunder Action, look, right? I had saved it on the fly.
Yes.
Then you should contact us. My ugly mug, David's less ugly mug, Terry's beautiful Irish mug, which we've never seen before in real life.
Yes.
So it's obviously very beautiful. You can contact us and we will play an ad for you because we want you, good consumer, good client. We want you to make money in these very stressful and COVID times. And then after that as well. So we'll take a quick ad break and we will be right back.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
And we are back. And now that officially brings us to everyone's favorite segment of the week. What the news?
What the news indeed. And we're back. We have more of the same. It's a sign of the times, people. We have more delays to announce. First and foremost, No Time to Die. We thought it was going to happen. We
know what
thought
time it is for? Dying.
To die, yeah.
It did. It delayed did.
It is time to die, apparently. And we're going to get to that in a moment. But the new James Bond film, 007, it's not happening. No Time to Die is not coming. It is happening. It's just not happening when we thought it would. Yeah, the whole thing's off. No, it is now going to be hitting theaters on April 2nd, 2021. As of right now, I think for the sake of all that's good in the world, we have to take all these announcements with a grain of salt, tentative, because I can't get my hopes up anymore.
No trust.
When things were initially delayed, it's like, oh yes, I'm ready. Like it's gonna happen. Now, no, I have no trust. So the latest James Bond has been delayed to April 2nd, 2021, moving out of this year. Yet again, another movie moving out. And also, important note, in my opinion, Fast and Furious 9, not 5, 9. There's so many. It was supposed to come out for Universal April 2nd, and now it's been pushed back to May 28th of 2021. That was initially supposed to release, I think,
in June of this year.
Yeah, like late May, early June of this year. So that's obviously be getting a big delay. And then now we have just today the news broke that we are getting a big time second delay for 2020. Dune. We just got the first trailer for this. We just discussed the first trailer for this a few weeks ago on this podcast. It has now been moved out of December. It is going to October 1st, 2021. This is a huge deal, and I'll tell you why. The Batman, which was also being produced by Warner Brothers, which is also producing Dune, was supposed to come out on October 1st, 2021. And it appears, I want everyone's take on this. It appears that the Batman will also be getting delayed. Nothing's confirmed, but I highly doubt that Warner Bros. Puts out Dune and the Batman on the same day. There's no way. Derek, what are your thoughts on these delays and that speculation?
Well, I think we're seeing as theaters have opened back up that business-wise, they're not doing quite as well as they had hoped. I think a lot of companies thought that, well, people are tired of sitting at home and they'll be itching to go back to a movie theater. And I'll give AMC credit because I have been a couple of times, and I do like what they're doing as far as the guidelines go. But it's showing that people are still leery about going out, especially in a small enclosed area like a movie theater, like a lot of movie theaters are. Yep. And I think the studios are realizing, hey, maybe it's not quite time yet to pull the trigger on these things. I was actually really looking forward to seeing James Bond next month, and now we've got to wait a little bit longer. And I agree with something you said earlier in the sense that I think whatever dates are put out, we have to kind of take with a grain of salt because we've seen so many delays since March. And it's kind of like, why don't you guys just say 2021? Yeah. Save us some speculation. Like we're pushing it back to next year. Because if you put a firm date on it, it's almost like you have to commit to it. But then you keep pushing it back and pushing it back. I think it would be easier to just give kind of a vague blanket statement and say, we're going to release this sometime in 2021. We will let you know more specific information when we know it.
Thomas, I want to hear your thoughts in 1 second. I just want to come back with my thoughts on why they would put a specific date. I think it's because these studios want to stake a claim in whatever date that is.
True.
These studios compete for certain dates. Marvel owns the first May of every year, the first week of May of every year, and they always have a movie there. You notice in all of these, since Comic-Con of last year, they've owned that May 7th of 2021. It was initially Doctor Strange, and then it was Shang-Chi. Wasn't Doctor Strange at first? I think so.
I think so.
I could be wrong, but they've always had a movie on that spot, pin that date, even if they don't know it's actually coming out. So that's why I also think we almost extra need to, because that, I believe, is the strategy, is they don't really know when it's coming out. They just want to say, hey, other studios, we own that date. We're saying there's a movie coming out that day, and if we can, we will. Thomas, I know you're bummed, buddy.
Mad. I am now vengeance.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers, you have ruined my birthday for the second year! You said you were giving me Wonder Woman. Literally, like the best birthday gift ever. And then you said you're giving me the Batman, which is like higher because I didn't know Wonder Woman existed until like 2001 with the Justice League cartoon. But then you take the Batman and you give me a beautiful trailer. Oh my God. Screw my 29th birthday. Let's turn 30. And then you ripped it out from under me.
You get Dune.
I don't. It's a shot-for-shot remake for another film. If I wanted that, I would watch The Lion King.
Oh, hey, that's a good point. You could have watched
The
King.
I don't want to live.
Yeah,
in a world where I don't get Batman on my 30th birthday. I don't want to turn 30 anymore. I'm back to the original. Screw my birthday.
I mean, I think Dune's already in the can. The Batman's not even completed filming. It's probably not even halfway home, or maybe halfway by now. But anyway, I mean, they just restarted after Pattinson got the virus. So it makes sense they're going to delay that movie anyway. Everything's getting delayed. And I also want to point out before we move on that with the Sony, I think this will lead right into the next topic. I think with Sony's, I think they weren't alone when the head of Sony said, we don't want to open up blockbusters until we can pack a theater.
He just had the balls to say it.
Exactly. Exactly. With Disney not putting Black Widow out on Disney Plus and being like, hey, this is a movie we want in theaters. They tested the waters with Mulan. They did a test. I think that's essentially what that movie was in some degree from that point of view. Testing to see, can we put out a movie and make good money back? I don't think it can. I think the fans want in a theater to some degree, but they also want to do it safely. And it just worries me. All of this worries me because, I mean, we'll see what happens, day by day here with COVID and everything. You don't really know. You got to take it one day at a time. But it's hard to imagine. I think what Derek was saying earlier, it's hard to imagine people filling out a movie theater anytime soon. Even in Wonder Woman still for Christmas this year. That one hasn't moved. I think it will move. But they just delayed that recently, so they'll probably wait a minute on that. But everyone's getting the heck out of 2020. Are there even going to be 2020 Oscars? Probably not. Like, what would they even grade at this point? Tenet wins everything.
VOD stuff.
I guess
they did
Sonic the
change
Hedgehog
rules.
for everything.
Sonic, that I support that wholeheartedly. I just wanted to say that this is bullcrap. COVID. Here's my thought. You're like, we'll see what happens. Having read Revelations, we're in the end times, and all I want before I die is to watch Marvel movies. So what if doomsday scenario here? What if we get to the end of 2020 and then all of a sudden there's 3 or 4 Marvel movies that are done and are ready to come out, but then the world explodes and we die and we don't get to see that.
I mean, at that point, you gotta just accept your fate, man.
Just like Regal Cinemas.
Just like Regal Cinemas.
Great segue.
They will not be the last theater. So it's a sign of the times, like I just said, and this is in a direct response to. Here is Regal's official exact quote they put out on their Twitter 5 hours ago. In response to an increasingly challenging theatrical landscape and sustained key market closures. But that's the point I wanted to make a point of. Increasingly challenging theatrical landscape, aka no movies are opening up anytime soon. Tenet came out, Tenet tried, Tenet's made $300 million worldwide. But no one else is going to try to. No one else wants to. And it makes sense. You put in so much money into all these big blockbuster films. Why would you just throw it out into theaters when no one's going? And it's not no one, but when you can make so much more if you just, put it in your back pocket, which movies can do. We just saw New Mutants come out 17 years after it was filmed. So let me finish the quote here. Regal will suspend operations at all theaters at close of business on Thursday, October 8th, 2020 until further notice. So Regal's done. I signed up for Regal Unlimited. I will hopefully they just pause it for me automatically, or I guess I'll cancel whatever the heck will happen. But I went 3 times. I felt safe. There was the social distance, they make it so you can't sit next to anyone. Big seats in between, and I think Derek mentioned how AMC's been doing it, where he's been going pretty solid job when it comes to. I mean, I felt safer there than I felt in other public places, and that's kind of been something that I've always questioned too. Is where it's restaurants are open, grocery stores, bowling alleys, all these different places right now. Yes, bowling alleys are open, and I mean, I'm probably not every bowling alley.
Okay,
but that's
priorities.
My churches. My point is that other public places indoors, that's what everyone gets their, people think about when it's movie theater. It's you're sitting there, it's indoors. All these other places have been able to open up, but, it's different in the movie industry. But still, I think people are still really hesitant too. So, Thomas, I'll start with you this time. What were your thoughts when it came to Regal officially announcing they are suspending operations until further notice? Part 2. It's already happened, man. They tried and they failed.
I didn't have any thoughts. Basically, no comment because I don't have a Regal near me, so it's if AMC is still open, I'm okay for now.
Yeah, but there's no. I think AMC's not last.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I can see Empire Strikes Back before they close, I think I'll be okay.
Out. Yeah.
Is Tenet still in theaters? I might go see that again.
I only saw it once. I want to go see it again. Maybe I will too. But it's Thursday. Holy crap! I mean that's
really you're screwed, bro.
Yeah. Thanks. Derek, what were your thoughts hearing that Regal's closing up shop?
Not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. I agree with you in the sense that I don't think AMC is that far behind, just because it's a money thing. No one's wanting to go to a movie theater right now. I mean, the idea of putting these older movies like Empire Strikes Back, I think the AMC near my house played The Goonies, a few other movies. So I thought that was a cool thing. But at the same time, it's like, other than Empire Strikes Back, like if I want to watch The Goonies, I have it on DVD, so I can just watch it there. I still haven't seen Tenet yet. I really want to.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah, I haven't been. I've only been to the theater. I've only been to the theater twice since they reopened, but it was before Tenet came out. So, but yeah, if you keep your Regal membership, so when AMC shut down initially, they just suspended because I'm an AMC A-list member.
Yeah, I had A-list too when it first shut down. Yeah,
they suspended my account and everything. So Regal should do the same when it comes to everybody else who has their premier membership. But no, it's not surprising at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a sign of the times, and it's just a shame. I think it's a shame that Tenet tried, and for that movie and for the theaters to succeed, they needed more to come out after, and they're just like, no, it's not happening. I mean, the studios are basically like, nope. Like, Tenet was the guinea pig. It's made 300 worldwide so far. They're out.
45 million in America, which is like what's killing them.
I mean, people aren't just going. We don't really think about it because we're like such big movie fans where we go see it like immediately, or we're I don't know, we make it like an event. People just show up to movie theaters on Friday nights and are like, what's on? Like, those kind of people, the casual moviegoers, is where people make a lot of money. You know what I mean? We went and saw it, and there's the 300 million, there's the 45 million, right? But they didn't get the casuals walking in being like, hey, let's go to a movie on a Friday night or on a Saturday night. And it's a shame, but they'll be back. I think they're just cutting costs. You can't just keep paying operate the theater, all your employees, all the cleaning stuff probably costs more than it was initially. Like, operations are probably costing more now than they were even before.
100%.
Yeah, just because sanitation and stuff. So they're just trying to cut your losses, stay alive, hibernate until hopefully whatever comes out next, maybe James Bond in April, which is a sad thought. That might be the next film.
Hopefully Wonder Woman at Christmas.
That's true. I think part of it, they're trying to do it a day at a time. They got a lot of movies down the pike, as we're just saying. Two of them, or we were just discussing Dune and Batman, who are coming out next year. But anyway, moving on to a bit more. Oh, yeah.
What were we going to say, Derek?
The scary thing is that as we're approaching the winter months, we haven't dealt with COVID in cold weather, so we don't know if it's going to spread and have a massive outbreak again. So it's just we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know, and I think the studios don't know, but the studios do know that they'd hope at least after a long stretch of time, it will get better. So they know if they just keep pushing, it will hopefully get better one day. But let's move on to a little bit some better news. Let's get something, Thomas.
Is this better news?
It's not worse news.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to say this because I'm really proud of my subtitle here. They have announced, Disney has, Lion King 2 live action movie. And I don't know if you've seen the animated movie, which is pretty dang good, if I say so. I'm dubbing this one Lion King 2 Disney's Pride because they couldn't leave well enough alone. The thing that I didn't like the most about Lion King was there was no facial emotions and expression in the characters.
Yeah.
It was a real lion. I was a lot less invested in the story because I was like, I didn't know lions could do that.
Well, Thomas, it actually wasn't real lions.
Yeah, I mean, I know it wasn't real lions, but they did everything in their damn power to make it look exactly like a real lion instead of putting emotions in their face.
I wish it was actor lions. Anyway, so the Lion King Disney's Pride, named by Thomas, which I think is a great title.
I love it.
Is coming from director Barry Jenkins, who Oscar-winning director for his work on Moonlight. That's good director. Good director. Obviously Favreau's out as director as he helmed Jungle Book and the first Lion King remake, where he's just all in. Favreau has become a maestro when it comes to digital effects. Let's just put that out there. But The Lion King, the 2019 blockbuster, the remake of the original, is getting a sequel. It is not confirmed if it will be, like using Thomas's pun, if it will be a Simba's Pride remake. I imagine they'll go a new route.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think they'll probably just continue the story. I've also heard, is it confirmed that, I think it is, that Aladdin 2 is coming out? Yeah, it is, right? Or is it just
I think so.
I didn't see the first one.
You didn't see the first one?
I'm not an Aladdin fan, and I get a lot of crap for it.
Really?
You don't like Aladdin?
It's not the Lion King.
It's not the Lion King. It's Aladdin.
Exactly. It does not compare to the Lion King in any metric way, unlike, say, the Goofy movie, which totally compares to the Lion King.
All right.
Breaking news.
We should rank our 90s Disney animated films.
I love this Goofy movie. I used to watch it all the time as a kid.
It's so good. And then after that,
Incredible soundtrack, by the way.
Yes. All these movies have incredible soundtracks. Aladdin, Lion King, and the Goofy movie.
Yeah.
But we'll see who returns for Lion King 2. Let's be honest. This is a moneymaker. People are going to go take their kids out to see the Lion King 2. Come on. I mean, it probably won't make it. I'll ask you guys this. Do you think Lion King 2 makes more or less than the first remake of The Lion King? Let me pull up how much The Lion King 1 made, the remake in 2019.
Less.
Agreed.
Unless that story, unless they put effort in the trailers to show what the story is, and it's entirely new and enticing. And if they write original songs, and by they I mean Donald Glover and Beyonce. Like if they write music for it, I think it'll pull more people in.
Can You Feel the Love Tonight by Beyonce and Donald Glover is better than the original. 100%.
I agree.
So good. That
doesn't make sense why they're singing it a couple different times, but it didn't really make sense in the first one either.
We don't worry about it.
So much more like heart and emotion when they sang it.
Agreed.
The Lion King 2019 remake, I forgot about this. It made $1.65 billion at the box office.
That's why I said less, because I knew it was a wild, astronomical number, and everyone's going to be like, the first one kind of sucked, which is what I hear all the time.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I thought it looked cool. I enjoyed the music. I miss the regular Pumbaa and Timon. Like the original, that to me was the most jarring, especially Timon. He wasn't anything like the original.
They should have brought back Nathan Lane.
Yeah, like his whole, because I think he played the original, Derek.
Yep.
Yes,
like his voice and his cadence was just perfect, and I love that character. And I like Seth Rogen as Pumbaa, but it wasn't quite the same. And just that whole dynamic with even them two and Simba was a bit off for me. So that is where it lost me the most. But I enjoyed Beyonce. I enjoyed, Mufasa, obviously. Even Scar's take. I like Scar, and that's what a lot of people criticized.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people did not like Scar because he was different.
I mean, okay, fair. Jeremy Irons is like super good, but also I can never say his name.
Should we tell Ejiofor?
What he said. I can never say his name right, and I always feel so bad because I'm just like, I don't, for whatever reason, that's hard for me to say. But he killed it. And the fact that they snuck in, like, Be Prepared was something I didn't anticipate. So that's probably like my favorite part. It's like, they're doing Be Prepared, but it's not the same, which I was okay with. I like different. Like adding the dung beetle, possibly my favorite sequence in the entire movie because it explained something that made no sense because air does not do that. But
so
poop
Thomas,
does.
You know what you should be prepared for is Miss Marvel coming to Disney Plus. Let's get excited, ladies and gentlemen. We have a Miss Marvel, up-and-comer, newcomer. Hopefully I nail her name. Iman Vellani. I think I nailed at least the last name. Anyway, Milani, she is the next Miss Marvel, the first Miss Marvel on the big screen or the small screen, as it's coming to Disney Plus.
Live action Miss Marvel. That's
nailed it. This is exciting to me. Marvel had no comment, but Deadline's reporting that she is in fact going to be Miss Marvel. I imagine that their search has been long and hard, but I don't know if there is a confirmed what her actual name is. Or what her actual age is. Sorry.
Yeah, I could not find anything. Her IMDb page literally has Miss Marvel only.
Yeah, no, I mean, she is a newcomer. But this is all I'm gonna say on this. I have faith in Marvel. I have faith in Feige. I bet she is awesome. I have full faith she's gonna kill this role. Before Square Enix broke my game, I was really enjoying her character in the Avengers game for PS4. Anyway, Derek, what do you think when you saw this?
I agree with you 100%. I think Marvel has had so much success with casting characters, much more than they have with failures. So we don't know anything about her, but again, as I was saying with Favreau and Filoni with The Mandalorian, until Marvel has a major miss, I'm going to trust their decisions.
Yeah. What character, what casting have they not nailed? Honestly, I can't think of one on the top of my head.
Obviously, Terrence Howard as Rhodey because they recast him.
That was because of the
Norton.
contract.
Okay, but they were obviously, if you nail it, you're willing to make that money, right? In your own eyes, you're willing to do whatever you got to.
The funny thing about the original Iron Man movie with Terrence Howard, do you want to know what his last line of dialogue was in that movie?
Next time?
Yeah, next time. Yeah.
But for him, there was no next time.
Yep.
Just like 2020.
Yes.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
I've also played the game. I have almost beat it. Sorry, David.
Anyway, I'm not going to go on that. I'm excited for this show, and I think what we're going to be talking about in a little bit is with the Sonyverse, and because Miss Marvel, especially in the comics, she is only time I've ever read Miss Marvel is in Miles Morales comics. That's how I was introduced to her initially, reading Miles, and then I'm like, oh, Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, here we go, this is this character,
Kamala. Her name is Kamala. The one that's up for vice president is Kamala.
I think I just said it reversed, and that's going to probably keep happening. All right. Well, that's just how I live my life in reverse.
Okay. Tenet.
Derek doesn't get it.
It's okay. He will soon. You know what else is coming up soon? We talked about this last week, but it's the Mother Boys. And it's the spinoff, which now we have a little bit more information. That is the word. It is being reported that the showrunners, Eric Kripke, he said it's loosely inspired by an element of the comics, which is the G-Men. Part of the G-Men is there's sort of an educational college experience. Now, there's a lot of in this article, but the G-Men are obviously a playoff of the X-Men. Yeah. I mean, in this, honestly, they should call them the V-Men for Vought-Men, but because creative licensing, they're obviously they're gonna do that.
I don't know what G stands for.
Yeah, it's in here. I don't remember where it is though. But they're saying it's gonna be a mix. It's gonna be part college show, part Hunger Games, which is
part Hunger Games.
I mean, let's be real. Let's act like college wasn't all about having the odds in your favor, David. May the curve be ever in your favor. Only in college can you get a 36 and still get a B.
Yeah.
I'm still mad about it.
Where else are you getting 36s? Just in general, who's grading anything else in life? I guess high school is what you'd be comparing it to. You get 36 in high school, you're getting an F.
Oh, yeah. I was like, what are you talking about? Yes, on a scale of 1 to, I was so confused. On a scale of 1 to 100, everybody knows that anything below 60 is an F, and that D is for degrees.
Yeah.
D's get degrees.
These
Hey,
get degrees.
On this, sorry. I was just gonna say.
You talk.
I was just gonna say that this makes me a little more excited for it. I was already excited for this spinoff. I think we'll learn a lot more as time goes on, but this kind of style for it, I think they already had me at college. Like I was already ready for it.
Yes. And I've got another quote here from Eric Kripke.
Yeah.
He said, "We were just talking and we stumbled onto this idea and we were so excited about it. We took it to Amazon because we think there's a real opportunity to see another part of the Vought world, but probably more importantly, to make a show that isn't really made that often, which is what we love about it, which is As the Boys is an unflinching look at reality. The goal for this is to make this superhero show one of the most realistic college shows anyone's ever made and really deal with real college issues and really explore what it's like to be that age." And that is why I'm very excited about that, because I was hoping they would do a realistic take on college, because it's got a lot of highs and lows. Yeah, but with deadly stakes.
Yeah.
Derek, what are your thoughts?
So we were talking about this before we started, but I've actually never watched The Boys. It's something that I'm excited to start because I've heard nothing but great things from anyone who's watched it. And once the spinoff comes out, I'll get to it once I've actually watched The Boys. So I can't comment too much on it other than I am looking forward to it when I do eventually watch it.
Yeah. Get going.
David, what are your thoughts?
Like I said, I'm excited. They already had me last week with just the college idea, potential Hunger Games action. That sounds pretty interesting to me. But yeah, I'm excited they're expanding the universe. I think, and it's a cash cow for Amazon. It wasn't in the news, but I did read this week that that The Boys is making its audience is similar to a or like a big time Netflix show, which is nothing to sneeze at. Netflix, like that is a real. I mean, Amazon has really found something here with The Boys, and I think expanding on that is a good move for Amazon, and I'm excited for it, man. And honestly, like just like to Derek, I think season 2 of The Boys has not let me down at all. It might be even better. Than
season 1,
right?
I concur.
Yeah, like I think a lot of shows kind of lose it after, or don't lose it, but they regress a bit. A lot of shows, anyway. I mean, in my opinion, what I think of first is like The Flash. The Flash season 1 to me was amazing, and then Flash season 2, it was good. I enjoyed it, but like season 1 was amazing for me. The Boys, another great season 1, and season 2 just keeps going with it. But they still have so much story to tell. That's why I think a spinoff could be so good because of the world they've created. I hope you're hype enough, Derek. You should start watching.
And The Boys has taken over our world. This is basically the only thing on TV right now that David and I both watch. So every week we're like, "Hey, did you watch The Boys?" And it's like, "I'm watching it now." And so I text him my thoughts because I know he's already watched it. And he's like, "Oh boy, just wait." And then I was like, "Oh, this is good." And I think the quote was, "This episode is insane and crazy on every level." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And going through the episode, I'm like, "Yeah." And then we get to the end. Well, is all I'm going to say. But it has become so important that this weekend we just sealed the deal today. That sounds so much worse than what I meant. We've sealed the deal today for at Harlecon, the second coming for the Harlecon convention this Saturday, October 10th at Thomas, you had the time in your head.
We had it 5 to 5:45, right?
Yes, thank you, because I was thinking my time. I was going to say the wrong time. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central. We are going to be live right here on our Facebook page, as well as Harlequin Arts Cosplay and Craft, and we're going to be reviewing season 2 of The Boys. Right now, saying it live, heavy spoilers, blood-laced spoilers, whale-sized spoilers.
Maybe like 5 minutes of non, and then from there, just full go on spoilers. All right.
I'm saying it. There is no way. I'm doing everything I can not to spoil anything because I have so many jokes to make, but I know that people haven't seen it, and I'm going to respect that. But all the spoilers on Saturday.
I have one thing before we move on into the most electric news of the week. Almond Joy.
All I
Season
gotta
2,
say,
episode 7, you'll get that, Derek.
season 2,
Sounds good.
episode 6. All I gotta say is Mr. Fantastic.
Bro.
But
No,
as David mentioned, we have the most electrifying news all week long.
Yeah, shocking news to say the least, and I mean
Stunning.
that in the most genuine way. The next Spider-Man film, Spider-Man 3 with Tom Holland, will apparently be starring, I still can't believe it's saying it, Jamie Foxx as Electro will be reprising his role. This comes to us from The Hollywood Reporter. Marvel has not confirmed anything. The Reporter also goes in later confirming the return of MJ from Zendaya's MJ, Jacob Batalon as Ned, who else am I missing? Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. Anyway, so like a lot of the returning cast is coming back. Like so that was all they figured out. And then also Jamie Foxx as freaking Electro. And let me say this before we dive in. I enjoy both Amazing Spider-Man movies because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan in general. But I enjoy them mostly because of Andrew Garfield. I thought he was a great Spider-Man. Like I like Garfield in general in films. Him in Social Network, that came out 10 years ago, like just the other day. It was like the 10-year anniversary. Him in The Social Network is so good. Him in some like what's that war movie he's in? Hacksaw Ridge.
Yep.
Such an interesting role for him. Such a dynamic. He is a very dynamic actor. And if this is leading, we could go so many places, but if this is leading to a Spider-Verse live action film, I won't care about 2020. I won't care about 20 whatever. That is all I care about. If that happens with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, maybe a new Miles Morales live action, like you won't.
Yes.
My head will explode. So here we go. Initial thoughts, because we can go a lot of places with this. Derek, what did you think when you heard that Electro, Jamie Foxx himself, is returning for the next Spider-Man film?
Shocking. No, and honestly, I read it, and honestly, I thought it was a joke.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I saw it was actually coming from credible sources, and I'm like, wait, he's already been Electro. Like that already happened in a different movie that's not canon anymore. But what I think, if I had to guess, what I think will likely happen is I think he will play a different version of Electro. Like I don't think he'll be blue. I think he'll have a more comic accurate costume. I just think he will be portraying a different take on Electro, because Amazing Spider-Man 2, and much like you, David, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I can remember watching the cartoon religiously as a kid, the one on Fox from the 90s. I remember my uncle coming to pick me up from school the day the original Tobey Maguire movie came out, and we went to the theater that afternoon and watched it. And I remember you couldn't find a seat in the theater. So like Spider-Man is been central to a lot of good memories from my childhood, and I've enjoyed all the movies to some degree. I'm not as big a fan of Amazing Spider-Man 2, but I did like Jamie Foxx's take on Electro. Now I think they'll tweak that and make it a little bit different. But the more I think about it, the more I kind of dig it. And like you said, if it leads to a live action Spider-Verse, like if that happens, I will just be a puddle of mess in the theater. Like you'll just see my glasses sitting in a chair, and the rest of me will just be completely gone.
Yeah, right there with you.
Is it my turn to talk?
Yeah.
Yes.
David sent me a text. So this came out on my birthday, which now I'm a big fan of this. Every year around my birthday, we're getting Spider-Man news. Keep that shit up, Marvel and Sony, please. Thank you. I love Spider-Man is my first Marvel character that I started following from the 1990, I believe it was 1996 animated show, The Amazing Spider-Man on Fox Kids. Shout out. That show taught me taught me about the X-Men, Blade, which I was able to convince my dad to let me watch a rated R movie, because I was like, oh, he's in a Spider-Man show. It won't be that bad, knowing full damn well he was about to murder a lot of vampires. Outsmarted him for the first time. But when it comes to some of the extra news, I genuinely thought that he was like, oh my God, dude, what the news? And I was like, okay. And I opened up, I was like, Jamie Foxx as Electro. Pfft, sure. Yeah. Clicked on it. Oh my God, is that Hollywood Reporter? Uh-oh, this is real.
I know.
Uh-oh, this is real. Weird. So since time has come, we've had 4 or 5 days for this to kind of gestate. There's some stuff that's happened since this came out, including Jamie Foxx posting a fan art of what looks to be the 3 live action Spider-Man with him, looking in an electric sparks. It's really beautiful. But he said, can't wait for y'all to check the new one, and I won't be blue in this one, but 1,000% badass.
Yeah.
So
which is interesting, which leads to, I think, maybe what Derek was hinting at, or was basically calling that maybe it's a different take. I did want to comment just on that. It feels odd to me that the MCU, because Spider-Man 3, for all intents and purposes, is an MCU film, unlike maybe Morbius and Venom, which are like kind of on the edge, like in the edge. Yeah, exactly. Like Spider-Man 3, that's the new deal, is that it is in the MCU. It's continuing the story. And if it's for Spider-Man 3 and we're getting Electro in it, which it's not just Electro, it's Jamie Foxx as Electro. That feels so... Why? Why would you bring Fox back as Electro if you don't want to do something with that? And if it's not the same character? I mean, it would make sense. I don't know how the story would work if they want to say it's the same character. I could also see where a redesign would just aesthetically look better, but maybe...
You mean like Boss Logic did?
Dude.
Right?
I mean, I thought he actually looked... I honestly, I thought the character visually looked pretty cool in in Amazing Spider-Man 2. I just thought, I didn't love the way they wrote that character. I think it could have been a bit stronger, especially when he became Electro. But I like the way it looked aesthetically. I'll take a new version of it, but I just don't get where they would be like, hey, we're gonna bring Electro into the fold. Let's bring back Jamie Foxx as a whole new character. I just,
I want to take that
for that out to be it. So that's part of it.
I want to take that because there's when he disappears in Amazing Spider-Man 2, everyone thought he exploded, but if you watch it, he doesn't exactly explode. He just,
you just assume he's dead.
You assume he's dead. You assume he explodes. So there's a very strong possibility he could be the same character and he just dropped into the we all know that the multiversal theory is its own thing, but what if at that moment of power explosion, like we teased last week, Wanda pulls him in to the MCU, and as he does that, he loses his blue skin, which on that, everyone's like, I hate it, but it was a lot of what they did in Amazing Spider-Man was pull from the ultimate versions of characters so that they could keep it fresh and unique. And it really was in line with that. But if they bring him into MCU proper, I think that we could get something a little bit less streamlined than what we're seeing from Boss Logic, but definitely something that works. You were saying, why would they bring him back? Well, if you remember, ladies and gentlemen, back in the year of 2014, a whole 6 years ago, David was still in high school. I was still in college, possibly. I was. Yeah. There was the Sony Pictures hack. And in one of those emails from November 2013, Kevin Feige wrote, really love Electro. Feels like you may not need the scene in his apartment, which makes him seem completely crazy and hard to relate to. And that is the whole Spider-Man's my best friend. And then Spider-Man talks to him. And then he's literally envisioning that. And then it goes on a little further. Like the idea that the eel goes in his mouth and instead of burrowing, you see it glow within him. Kind of like the morgue where he wakes up, electrocuted Max wakes up, but hate the dancing mortician. Cliche. Which, facts. And then he said, not about Electro, tone down Paul Giamatti performance so he seems a bit more menacing and less cartoonish.
he was very cartoonish.
No.
You know what Sony didn't do? Listen to Kevin Feige.
Yep.
Which, as we mentioned, I don't think it was last week but the week before, Kevin Feige was a producer on the first Amazing Spider-Man. So the fact they went to Feige for notes on Amazing Spider-Man 2 makes sense. And then now he likes Fox as Electro. So he's like, well, you know, I would not mind having him as Electro.
Yeah. And that gets me excited, you know, like because like we were saying earlier with casting with the MCU, I have great faith with them using these characters in the proper way too. I mean, so we'll see what happens, but I have full faith that this Electro will be a better Electro just because it's now the MCU. And it's funny you talking about Feige, just how this journey has gone for Feige related to Sony. Oh, he produces Amazing Spider-Man 1. He's helping them with the notes. That movie kind of duds. 7.5 or 750 million worldwide, I think that movie ended up at, which is number two. And that's why they gave the rights back, or not the rights. That's what they shared it with the MCU because they're like, all right, we need to make this popular again. Because and it's worked since 2016 with Civil War. Spider-Man has been a cash cow for Sony. I mean, like between the movies and then Venom and now the Spider-Man game and all these different things, like him going into the MCU has really benefited Sony so much. Mm-hmm. It's funny to think that Feige now, he kind of won that deal because he wasn't a producer. He gives them the notes. They don't take it. He gets the new Spider-Man now. And now he gets to pick out the one thing he did like, Electro, and be like, hey, it's my toy now. I get to play with it.
Derek, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, and also I want to throw out there, you know, Jamie Foxx is an incredible actor, and he's so versatile in what he does. So I think that reason alone, we should be kind of excited for him to return to that role and add something to it that, you know, maybe we missed out on the first time. But I think the moral of the story is always listen to Kevin Feige.
Honestly, and Feige we trust.
What an amazing segue to our final piece of news that I found. Remember when they announced, you know, a year ago that Spider-Man was coming back to the MCU because Disney and Sony, they made a deal. Feige said during this announcement when they were discussing the renewed deal that Spider-Man is the only hero with the superpower to cross cinematic universes. So as Sony continues to develop their own Spideyverse, you never know what surprises the future might hold.
Yeah, which feels like a century ago, by the way. He said that.
You remember what I said to you, David, when this happened? Because you're trying to take it with a grain of salt. And I was like, we're getting Spider-Verse. I'm putting the graphic up now. I think we're getting either, because let's be real, this is after Doctor Strange already. I think we're getting the Spider-Verse. And it might not be might not be this major event. It might just be the beginnings of it, you know, but I think it's going to lead to this massive thing because I have a feeling you're going to do two different ways of diving through the multiverse. You know, you've got the quantum realm, which theoretically can be a map through the multiverse, just like it's a map through time. You might be able to do the same thing with the what is it, the web of dimensions or whatever, the cosmic web. I don't remember what it's called, but it's the spider web that connects all the spider universes and spider
web of connections is the gist of it. I don't know if that's the exact name. But like, that's the thing in the Spider-Verse comics where like they come like they're all connected and it's like its own kind of thing. And I would love to see that like kind of rendition in the MCU where it doesn't have to be this like MCU event. It can just be like a Spider-Man event. Oh man. Right.
And then, you know, like that's how they could pull in Venom and like all the, you know, that could be how J. Jonah Jameson popped up, because if you read the comment from J.K. Simmons, there we go. J.K. Simmons, he was mentioning, it sounds like he doesn't know if this character is the same exact J. Jonah Jameson or a different version from his original trilogy that he was in.
Yeah. Well, that quote was he wanted it to be different, and they were telling him they wanted it to be the same, like the same cadence and the same, like he acts exactly the same. It's a different. It's supposed to be a
same but different.
Exactly. It's a spoof on InfoWars, which isn't what he was in the original trilogy of Spider-Man. What? What's the face?
I could argue that he totally was. You take that same cadencing, and he's definitely the exact same.
No, I agree. I'm saying that he
see.
wasn't sitting in a desk at the Daily Bugle in New York. He was on this screen doing the like InfoWars style thing.
That's what you mean. Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, it could. That's a thing. This opens it up. Before, while sitting there watching Far From Home, I'm just smiling. This is great. I've always wanted him to come back. Every Spider-Man fan sitting there just cheering, having a great time seeing him come back. But I think to me and most other people, that was cute. That was fun. That made me happy. Whoa. Could now that mean that is actually him? Like is that actually the canon, like through line? Is that actually the J.K. Simmons JJJ that we saw in the original that's now turned into this info? Like as the time has changed, the Daily Bugle shut down, like the paper, like no one reads print anymore. And now he's doing this whole thing, that opens up the possibility. Like they could easily tell that story if they wanted to. This could also mean why Vulture is in the Morbius trailer. Like what's going on with these? We don't like maybe the Morbius. I've heard this be theorized too. There's a lot of theories. I can't get into all of them, but where more like the Morbius Venom, or I guess just the Morbius universe, wherever it's based, is in the Tobey Maguire universe, which is
because of that image.
The bus. Oh, yeah, the image where it's the Maguire suit, and then also because there's a bus that from set where the Daily Bugle was like there's this like sign, and it was the same logo as from the original trilogy. So there's little Easter eggs like that. I hope they have a plan, I think is the bottom line. Don't pull a Star Wars, please. I hope there's open passes of communication between Sony and Marvel, and they're figuring this out in a good, logical way. Because I think they're kind of making it up as they go, especially because nearly Spider-Man was out of the MCU a year ago, or a little over a year ago now. So this is a good sign. I'm happy.
They all refute. They just say that negotiations stalled, and that happens. It just came out. And it's like, I'd like to think so.
I'll say that
because
now.
that is exact. Oh, they said it during that time. Like, negotiations stalled. There's nothing concrete. They all publicly came out to say that after, but it was basically like, we know that if negotiations have stalled, then we're screwed as fans.
Yeah.
Because we knew that there was no more coming out Spider-Man movies without that deal.
So each person, Derek, you start. What do you think is the percentage that this somehow leads to a Spider-Verse film? Like, what is the percentage chance that we get a Spider-Verse film in the next 100 years?
In the next 100 years, I would say it's in the 90s. But
all right, now let's give it like, I don't know.
We'll say the next decade.
Sure.
I will say I think there's a 70% chance that it does.
70.
I think it's going to lead to something because both Sony and Marvel know this would be absolute money. You might as well just print the money right now, because I know I will go see this multiple times if it happens, because you take those three, like all three of those Spider-Man characters are beloved by their generation of people who watch them.
Yeah.
So I think, and with Marvel involved, I think there will be a plan, because that is something that Marvel has done extremely well. You look at what they did leading up to Endgame. They took 20 plus movies and they told a complete story.
Yeah.
So I think if we all know that Sony is not the best when it comes to planning things like that, but I think with Marvel involved, I have the faith. But yes, I do think it will happen.
Okay. Thomas, what about you?
I actually want to hear your percentage first.
35. I'm concerned that Garfield and Maguire are going to have nothing to do with this. That they're going to be like, no, and we'll refuse. That's where I'm stuck. I think that the creative people at Sony and Marvel would want to, for all the reasons Derek just said. I'm concerned that Garfield and Maguire are like, I'm not going back for this. Like what it like I'm that's in my past, man. Like they're gonna be like that phase of me is over. That's why I think it's such a low chance. It's just still feels like a dream to me. I mean, we'll see. I really hope. You have no idea, but I just don't see it. I mean, 35% I think is actually still pretty good. This would be crazy. Like, I mean, the Electro news it's like really good news, but this is still a big leap in my opinion. Getting both of them, we'll see. Thomas,
100%. And here's
up,
why.
You're hyping me up, man. You're getting me excited.
Tobey Maguire now has kids, right? Now, if there's one
How
thing
does that
I've learned, wait, if there's one thing I've learned, wrestlers and people who are like, I used to do these great things, always want their kids to see that. So it's like, oh yeah, you were Spider-Man back in the day, but you can't do it now. Then he'd be like, first off, go to your room and clean up the room. I don't parent, so I don't know. But he'd be like, okay, well, I get to be Spider-Man again, a different version, a totally evolved old Spider-Man. Like we got Peter B. Parker. Like that's a template, right? No, you take all of the things that you think about, like what he would want to do with the character and just do it. With Andrew Garfield, now he would actually be able to come back in, and I think he got shit on just because the second movie was just bad.
Yeah.
And he did everything in his power to make it good. And so when it went bad, it was less about the fans and it was all about the creative BS.
Yeah.
Now, if Marvel is involved, if Disney is involved and Kevin Feige is involved, 100% chance. If they're not, I think there's a slightly smaller possibility, but I think it still happens because it's an opportunity to do something that they never thought of or dreamed of when they were Spider-Man. Yeah. And that is what makes it exciting as an actor to go back to a role that you were done with for, well, okay, almost 20 years for Tobey Maguire, and
it probably would be 20 years by the time
by that point, eight years right now. Was it 14
for
that Amazing Spider-Man 2? Yep. Yes. So 6 years right now, and you know, if DC, if we have learned, okay, let me rephrase that. If I have learned anything from DC recently, with the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, and how they're now tying all the multiverses together, it's that what has come before not only matters, but you can make it matter more now. And I think that all parties involved can see it as an opportunity, because John Wesley Shipp played the Flash in 1990, and in 2000 and when did that show start? 2014? Almost 25 years later, he gets brought back. And then in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, he's that same Barry Allen from the 1990 show. And that's the spoiler alert. That's the Flash who goes away. That's the Flash that runs on the cosmic treadmill until he explodes. That's what we can do with Spider-Man. And instead of killing, say, the young Spider-Man, you can kill the older Spider-Man, and then that is how Miles Morales can come in.
Yeah. Hey, no one wants this more than I do. I just can't get my hopes up that high. Like I just feel like there's still so much that would need to happen. And even, I think maybe even lower than 35, like the shakiness of the Sony and Marvel relationship that happened, like last year, that like, I was literally a mess because of that. Like it hasn't gone away. Like I still remember that, and I remember how it felt that he was out of the MCU, and we were gonna have a Tom Holland in the Sonyverse. Like that was awful, and I don't think that could. I'm still in the mindset where that could happen like anytime. You know what I mean? Like I think it happened quick, and it can still happen. And they've only confirmed that Far From Home is the next Spider-Man movie that's going to be in the MCU. They've said that he's going to appear in, I think, one or two I think just maybe one
One.
MCU film, but that's the contract right now. That's what I'm riding on. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not taking anything else for granted, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Spider-Man 3, Time to Go Home. Because they got to send the Spider-Man back to their home, like in Into the Spider-Verse.
They did confirm that Home will be in the third title, by the way.
Well, it has to be.
Yeah,
which is good. Like, I like that little trope that they have.
I heard the rumors home run. I'm like, really? Home run?
I'm not a fan of that.
Me neither. Time to Go Home's pretty good.
Is he going to become a baseball player?
Yeah, exactly. Like especially with Kraven the Hunter being rumored as the lead bad guy. Even though now Electro's in it, it's like, what's even happening?
Sinister
Six is happening. That
is where
that's 100%.
Yeah, and I think that's actually where the Spider-Verse, the Spider-Man Spider-Verse with those 3 live action actors comes into play. I think right there.
I mean, that's like,
and there's a potential to get Donald Glover as Miles Morales, as he was the first voice for Miles Morales in a cartoon, if I'm not mistaken.
But Donald Glover played Miles' uncle in Homecoming.
Different Spider-Verse. If Peter Parker can look different, then Miles Morales can look like his uncle.
I'd hope that a Miles Morales Spider-Man live action would come from Earth 1999. Personally, that's the MCU.
I definitely hope that too. But if he's an older Miles Morales and comes from another universe, that would be really cool.
But the problem is in the comics, like, Spider-Man dies in the universe, and then
so then he can meet, like, oh my god, I'm meeting you, and you're like, you're prime, my prime. I'm like, 16, man.
What do you
yeah. So, funny story. So a funny thing happened on my Earth.
Anyway, hold on.
Oh, okay.
I just want to say, like, there's always so much bad news happening these days. All we need is just a little taste of anything, and it gets us on these, like, all of us as fans can just go on about this stuff. Like, I don't think all the speculation would be happening if it wasn't for these times, honestly. I mean, maybe, but there'd be more to talk about. We'd have movies to actually base stuff on. We're still sitting off of Far From Home is the last thing we've seen of the MCU. It's unbelievable. Like, we really don't even know what's even happening. We have no idea what Phase 4 is going to look like. We think we do, but we really don't. That is all.
I really think I do now. And it all starts with WandaVision.
But Black Widow is gonna be, there's gonna be surprising moments. You're not gonna know everything's going into that movie. Like, it's gonna be different than you think. I guarantee it.
I think in the general sense of what I'm thinking, it's gonna be exactly like that. It's gonna have a grounded situation, and then this astronomically complex cosmic situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what you won't realize is that they're going to meet together in a secret invasion.
We'll
dun,
see.
Dun, dun.
Called it in 2020.
Yeah.
Alien invasion ruins the world. So that wraps up the news, ladies and gentlemen. We have gotten here. Wow. Thanks, David, for that main topic. You dick. In our show notes, he wrote the main topic is Cowboys suck. Well, it's okay. Okay. So, Derek, where can everyone find you on social media?
Yeah, so you can follow the Derek Diamond Experience podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at DDiamond Podcast. If you want to subscribe to the show, it's on all forms that podcasting is available: Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. You can also check out my other podcast, Nerd Cave Retro, which I host with my friend Jason Robbins. We review games from the 80s and 90s, also discuss retro gaming news.
Cool.
We stream every Wednesday night on Twitch at twitch.tv/jfunktastic. And you can follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Nerd Cave Retro.
And don't forget that tonight, in 1 hour from this moment here and forth, if you're watching live, that Derek will be doing his top 5 horror films live and in your faces.
And leave your top 5 as well, and I will read them on the show.
Yes, that is actually one of the best parts, is listening to everybody else's top 5. And I normally wait a couple hours, so then I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that movie.
There's always ones you forget. I'm sure there's going to be ones that I forget too.
Yeah.
Yes. David, where can everyone find you on les social media?
Yeah, you guys can find me at my name, David Thompson, on Facebook, David J. Thompson on TikTok and Instagram. And then my most active account, I will definitely say I love Twitter. David Thompson with 2 A's in it on Twitter. Thomas, what about you?
You can find me on Facebook at Thomas Carter Rochester -actor, at Thomas Carter Rochester, all one word, no hyphens, no spaces on the Instagram, at TC Rochester Act, that is TC Rochester ACT on Twitter. And of course, you can find Thor Watches the Mandalorian and Thor Talks To at Life of Thor on YouTube. Thor Watches the Mandalorian season 2 is going to be lit. Let me just say that. I've decided I'm going to, because I have no free time, I'm just going to make time. So I'm not going to sleep. Good luck to me. David, what do you have to promote this week?
I've got nothing. Can't wait for next week. The Heat are only down 2-1 now. I'm happy.
I have, just like last week, a brother from my fraternity, Trenton Boone, a sophomore studying mathematics at Florida Tech, has a grade 2 tumor called diffuse astrocytoma, and he's currently going through 7 days a week of radiation, of chemo, and 5 days a week of radiation. And I just posted in the comments for both Facebook and YouTube the GoFundMe page so that you can go and share it or donate if you can. All month of October, I'm doing my best to promote this and get people to help him, because radiation and medical expenses in America are expensive.
Yep.
And bump all of that trying to do that. I want to thank Derek Diamond for joining us and staying on the whole show and talking the news with us. Look, he has such a great setup. We got to work on ours, David. He looks so professional.
Not getting any better, man.
It's all wallpaper.
It was like this, so then you couldn't see anything.
No, I appreciate you guys inviting me on. This was a blast. And like I said at the beginning, I love what you guys are doing. You guys have a really fun show. So glad to chat with you guys tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Derek. It was really a lot of fun. Thanks for Sam for the news.
For sure.
Yeah. I love you, Derek. You know that.
I love you, Thomas.
Oh, shucks. And this has been episode 26 of Lights, Thunder, Action. We'll see you next week.
Bye.